And I was ranking the top 5 guys left in the playoffs. And
Who'd you have, by the way?
I had Luka 1,
Okay.
but with reservations because I had Tatum 2, and I felt like, and I still feel like,
So
Luka,
you don't value defense.
No, that's the thing. Tatum is a two-way player. Luka is a defensive liability. But Luka's ability to control a game on offense, to me, gives him the edge. Luka 1, Tatum 2.
Okay. 3.
Steph 3.
Steph 3. Okay, I like that.
Jimmy Butler 4. And I had Jaylen Brown 5.
Okay.
Listen to this. Here's Patrick Beverley, who was on this just in, along with J.J. Redick, on Marcus Smart, who both J.J. and Patrick Beverley felt should have been in the top 5. Marcus Smart. These guys actually played the game, although I have simulated
Marcus Smart
seasons.
might be the most impactful player on that team.
Including Jason Tatum.
Yes, impactful. Impacts winning.
So I've stated this multiple times throughout the course of the year, right? When people say, why did Draymond Green get paid all that money? Oh, because he's the most impactful player on Golden State's championship team. Marcus Smart is a smaller version of Draymond Green.
Yep.
If you watch every huddle, it's being led by Marcus Smart. Now, it's interesting in Game 6, where I think he made maybe Game 5 where Milwaukee won, was a play where he had his head down. He didn't look up to Jason Tatum. That was so uncharacteristic because we had talked about throughout the course of the year in January when Ime Udoka called for a team meeting and he changed up how they actually believed in each other. There was one play, I think it was against the Brooklyn Nets, where Marcus Smart had a shot that he could have taken, and it was in the playoffs, and he decided not to take the shot, right? And he passed it, and that's when Jason Tatum made that crazy acrobatic layup to win the game. And we were all praising Marcus Smart for, you see, a year ago, he would have taken that shot, and he wanted to be the guy. And that's the reason why they were in this place, because he became a willing passer. He wanted to become a willing leader. So, yes, I think it's impactful if he's not on the floor because he affects the game in so many different ways by making big shots off catch and shoot, his defensive style in which he puts pressure on the ball.
His heart, the way he plays the game.
His passion, yes.
But you know what? So when I did my list, the guy who it killed me to leave off, and maybe I should have put him on instead of Jaylen Brown, was Draymond Green. I don't think I would have Marcus Smart as one of the 5 guys there. Although both JJ and Pat Beverley, who play, it's interesting to me. Guys who play the game say, yeah. But I also saw Marcus Smart make a lot of bad decisions at the end of a game that Drew Holiday took over, and he took it over from Marcus. So it's not just to me how good you are; it's how easy is it to replace what you do. Marcus Smart shows leadership, grit, all those things. But sometimes when that guy's talent is not pitched quite high enough, like for example, give me Drew Holiday. Because there are things he can do as a basketball player better than Marcus Smart to me. So Draymond Green also, like I can do, because Draymond's a little bigger and stronger and can do a few more things defensively to me. So I hear what people are saying about Marcus Smart. That's a big hit to take. But is he a top 5 player left in the playoffs? Or is he in that conversation?
I think he's a top 5 impactful player left in the playoffs, yes. Impactful for what he brings to the game. And one of the reasons why you want to have him play is one of the things that nobody on our network is going to talk about, the importance of your legs in these series, right? So I want you to think about this because a lot of people try to use this against the Heat, but I'm going to use this for the Heat's advantage, and we're going to see what kind of energy Boston's able to bring to the table. Who did Boston go through the first 2 rounds, Max? They went through Kevin Durant
I have to
and
stop
Kyrie
and think
Irving.
For a second. Yeah.
Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving,
yeah.
right? Which takes defensive focus. It takes a lot of legs to be on top of that.
Tatum was
right?
great
And
on
I'm
KD.
not. This is not minimizing Trae Young or the Atlanta Hawks. Just different levels to this, right?
Sure.
Okay. And then they had to go through Giannis, who's playing like the best player in the world, who comes at you like a relentless force over and over and over again. So matchups, communication, all that for them. So the amount of legs that they've used up until this point, whereas, and once again, not minimizing the Atlanta Hawks or the Philadelphia 76ers, but Joel Embiid not playing the first 2 games, right? And then James Harden being the shell of himself. I'm not saying it didn't take crazy effort because it did by the Miami Heat, but still, you have to think that Boston has used a lot of their legs already to get to this point where people are saying, well, who have the Heat really played? I'm like, well, that's to their advantage, right? They still feel like they're somewhat fresh going against a team that's battle-tested right now.
That's interesting.
It's different, man, especially when you get to this time of the year.
It's interesting.
82 games, playoffs, You know, the level of it.
Does Boston beat the Bucks if Middleton plays?
I don't think so.
Me neither.
I don't think so.
So fortune has also smiled on them on their way to this point.
But that was still one hell of a series that went 7 games without Chris Middleton.
It is, but the Heat would have beaten the Sixers even had Embiid played the first 2 games, yes or no?
I'm not sure, just because I think JWill Embiid is a game-changing difference.
I agree, but
He's
when it came down to it,
difference.
the Sixers, as the games got really important, the Sixers didn't have it for the
Yeah,
Heat.
I still think we would have been
Heat in 7 if Embiid plays.
Yeah,
But
it might have been close.
But Bucks
in
in
7.
Right. So it's
Bucks
that
maybe not in
suggests-
7.
That suggests that maybe at this moment we are overrating the Celtics slightly and underrating the Heat slightly.
That's why I said it. I think
In
the Heat are
addition
one of
to
the most
those legs.
disrespected teams in all sports right now.
In addition to the fresher legs, in addition to the more experienced coach.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN Plus right now.